Men, I have a message for you. Elon Musk is officially, pound for pound, the biggest loser in the world. And this is an extremely important moment for masculinity. A great moment for masculinity. Now, I know some of you are triggered by the initial statement, but give me just a couple of minutes to build my argument properly, and then you can decide if this is nonsense or if this really is one of the best possible news for masculinity in general. Okay, I took a couple of notes that I want to share as part of the introduction to make sure that I set this up properly. First thing, this is not political, but that doesn't mean that personal growth and self-improvement shouldn't be political. So, I am not a proponent of the idea that we should separate political matters from personal growth and development, because all philosophy, psychology, and spirituality, all real, true, genuine philosophy, psychology, and spirituality lead towards you becoming a more engaged and responsible citizen of the world, or at the very least, citizen of your community. Therefore, this very superficial and modern idea that we can separate self-development, that we can separate spirituality, that we can separate personal growth from politics, it's a nonsense idea and it's a cowardly idea. However, this particular topic that I want to discuss is not political in the sense that it doesn't deal with accusing this or that side of the political spectrum, because we are going to talk about the Epstein scandal, the Epstein files, and Elon Musk being part of those Epstein files. So it's important to note that I'm not criticizing and talking about Musk as part of this particular political group that has been involved in this scandal. No, powerful people from all sides or both sides of the political spectrum have been involved in this scandal. So this is not going to be me talking about, look how this side in politics is bad because they are affiliated or have been affiliated with Jeffrey Epstein. No, once again, people from all sides of the political spectrum have been involved with that disgusting person. So in that way, this is not a political topic. Second thing, I want to make videos, I want to write about evergreen topics. I want to create educational content that stands a test of time. I don't want to be creating and writing about current matters that will be forgotten tomorrow or a week from now. So that's something that you will notice in my videos and also in my writing over the last 6 years. I never react to current popular events because, once again, I want to create things that stand the test of time. However, even though this is very fresh, this topic is very fresh, at least Musk involvement in Jeffrey Epstein scandal, not the whole scandal in general, even though it's really fresh, I truly believe this is an immensely important moment that will stay relevant, at least in the sense of a message that it can send to masculinity or men in general, and I want to contribute to this becoming an important and constructive moment that stands the test of time. Therefore, here is me for the first time ever writing about, or at least in long form, and or talking about a recent event. Last but not least, actually maybe the most important, I want to acknowledge that I will be touching on a topic that is enraging, that is sickening, and I don't want to seem like another self-improvement guru who tries to find something positive in everything, even when we shouldn't find anything positive, even when we should just acknowledge the disgusting, atrocious thing that has happened. So I'm acknowledging that this is an atrocity, this is a tragedy that needs to be acknowledged, what has happened to underaged women or underage people. But once again, I think there is not a positive, productive message, but an extremely important message for men. And I do believe it will be a positive and encouraging message for those men who choose to see it that way. Now, let me get to the actual point. So, Elon Musk is officially, pound for pound, the biggest loser in the world, and I would argue the biggest loser in recorded human history. How can I make this claim? And how can I say official? Very simply, he is the richest man in the world. Argument could be made that he is the wealthiest, the richest man in history. Well, The richest man in history, or just the richest man currently in the world, is existing in a society that revolves around wealth and power and status. For now, let's focus on wealth and power because it seems that he didn't manage to gain status. So let's focus on wealth and power and influence. That's something that he managed to gain. So the richest, wealthiest man in the world existing in a society that values financial wealth and power and influence over anything. That man gets into contact with a person, Jeffrey Epstein, whose sole mission in life is to connect with powerful people and with billionaires in order to be able to take advantage of them through blackmailing them after putting them in compromising situations, to put it lightly. So the richest man in the world existing in a society that values financial wealth and power over everything connects with a man whose sole purpose is to connect and spend time with and get close to billionaires. In this situation, in this setup, Elon Musk ends up being too lame to be accepted as part of the group, as part of the atrocious, disgusting group. So Elon Musk, who claimed before that he rejected invitations to Epstein parties, it ends up in the last release of Epstein files that he continuously asked, when is the next party, when is the craziest party, and when can he come and visit Epstein, while Epstein was trying to avoid it. The richest and wealthiest man in the world is too lame to be accepted and invited to the parties of a man whose sole mission is to connect with billionaires. If this is not pound for pound being the biggest loser or simply the least cool and the most lame person ever, I don't know what it is. So, I mean, you are free to, of course, free to write in the comments how this is not a solid argument. We have in front of ourselves with this situation irrefutable proof that financial wealth and power are not enough to get you, to make you desirable, liked, and perceived as cool. This is it. This is the strongest evidence ever that money and power are not enough. Again, as I said, for some men, or for those men who have the courage and strength to face this truth and to act accordingly, this will be great news. And some men are going to fall into despair when they realize that money isn't enough. Why is this important? Because we are riding, or we have been riding, a wave for at least a decade or so of so much emphasis online in masculinity spaces, so much emphasis on material wealth. What color is your Bugatti? You've all heard, or most of you men have heard that phrase. You know, just increase your financial wealth, become powerful, and that's the solution for men's loneliness. That's the solution for being accepted and liked. That's the solution for making connections. Well, now we see that's not the case. The richest man in the world couldn't get accepted into a club whose sole purpose is attracting billionaires. Like, can you wrap your head around that? How uncool and lame he is, and how he proved us that even unlimited money, even having trillions, is not enough. Being worth trillions. I know that he doesn't have that amount of money in his bank account just laying around waiting to be taken out and spent in cash. I'm well aware of that. But someone who is worth, I don't know if if he approached trillion or whatever. He's certainly the closest individual in modern history who ever got, the closest someone ever got to a trillion. Okay, back to the point. We have been riding this wave. It's not like I said recent decade or so in terms of online space, but for a century, the modern culture has been directed towards, if you're a man, the best way to prove your worth as a man is to stack up money. Now, let me say, me, myself as a man, I want to provide for myself, I want to provide for my family. I am not against. This is not some virtue signaling that money is bad or that making money is bad. Absolutely not. I want to be a provider. I respect and embrace that masculine role of earning, creating, and being able to provide for your loved ones. However, it was decades ago, but as I said, specifically the last decade or so with the online movements and online grifters, where we saw the narrative shift from being a provider to being able to afford outrageous things. So you are not a man or a competent man anymore if you can pay the bills and put food on the table. No, you are a competent man if you can rent a yacht or buy a yacht or buy a Lambo. Even though a lot of those people rent Lambos and Bugattis and take photos next to them and drive them around to make YouTube videos, and then they say to you, here is I'm driving, I bought a Lambo or a Bugatti, and if you want to become like me, buy my course on how to be a rich alpha man. Okay, so I think most people here are on the same page when it comes to that, or at least we understand what archetype of online masculinity grifter we are talking about. Well, this can be the turning point. This can be the turning point for men and masculinity out there, where we have the proof that incomprehensible amount of money, incomprehensible net worth is not enough to make someone cool enough to be accepted as part of the group that they are trying to become. So once again, he was sending multiple emails trying to become part of the club. Now, for those of you who strongly disagree but are still watching, maybe you'll say he wasn't aware of what was going on there. It's okay. It's okay. Let's give him the benefit of the doubt that he didn't know what Epstein was doing and what Epstein was about. It still remains true that he wasn't cool enough for those people. It still remains true that you can see from emails that he is the one chasing, and Epstein is sending an email to someone like, can you take care of this for me? Can you say that, we are not organizing parties anymore? In any case, the narrative that is widely recognized as a very clear narrative is he's reaching out, trying to get accepted into a club that he apparently isn't wanted in. And I really do believe that this is not a stretch when I say this can be a turning point for masculinity, where we see that insane amount of wealth and power is not enough to make you cool. So what do? We develop our characters and our souls and our minds. And we lean into our uniqueness. Elon Musk isn't lame or uncool because he's a nerd. No. That would be a weak excuse to make. Oh, David, you are criticizing Musk. He's nerd, he's autistic, he's that. No. There are men out there who are doing what is conventionally considered uncool and nerdy and have immensely rich social lives. There are women out there who are madly in love with men whose main hobby is playing Dungeons and Dragons. Now, this is not me saying Dungeons and Dragons are not cool, but imagine there are women who like men who play it. No. What is conventionally considered as not a hyper-masculine, cool hobby. That's just facts. There are men out there, who are, they're doing martial arts and they're riding bikes and they're this, stereotype of the cool guy, right? This is not something that I consider to be that's widely accepted. And then there is a guy who is more withdrawn, who is playing Dungeons and Dragons, who is maybe into gardening. And there is a woman and women who are madly in love with those men. And there are other men who greatly respect those men. And this is the most encouraging thing ever. That we are continuing to see proofs of that. And now we see it on the biggest stage, where, once again, it's not Elon Musk's geekiness or nerdiness. It's this unyielding desire to appear as cool and expecting to be perceived as cool because of his power and because of his influence and because of his wealth. The general population loved him when he was talking about Hitchhiker's Guide to Galaxy. I forget the full name of the book. One cool fantasy book, when he was citing that as one of his main inspirations. That's when everyone considered him cool. But when he tried to be cool on the basis of his power, that's when the illusion of him as a role model and an interesting person started falling apart. And now I think this is the final nail in the coffin, but not just of Elon Musk. I'm not here to celebrate the downfall, the inevitable and very obvious downfall of a man. Although I'm also, I have zero sadness for his downfall. But I'm not here to celebrate that. I'm here to reflect on the fact or on the opportunity that this is for men to see that developing your character, your uniqueness, leaning into your own quirks, and of course, developing yourself as a provider, but developing other aspects of who you are as a complete human, that's the way to enjoy a rich social life and a way better path than just maxing out the money and power stat if you look at yourself as, you're developing a video game character. So my invitation for you, men, brothers, is to cultivate yourself as a complete human. To know that kindness will never become out of fashion. Kindness is kindness. Confidence in your own uniqueness, meaning not trying to play a character that you see out there, but figuring out who you are and how you can be the person that you are more confidently. Manners. Those things are like a black suit and a white dress shirt. Like, they are classics and they're always in fashion. Of course, there can be a golden suit that's in fashion and that's trendy for a couple of months or one season. Now we have been in decades of flashy things being in fashion. But even when something flashy is in fashion and trendy, it doesn't make the classic become untrendy. Black shirt that I'm wearing, it will always be in fashion. I'm no fashion guru. Just let me put it out there. But kindness, respect, integrity, treating others like you would want yourself to be treated, leaning into your quirks. Maybe I would like, or maybe at some point in my life, in my development, I wanted to be a different character. But you see how I am. I talk passionately. I sometimes stumble over my words. I'm very expressive in my speaking. Maybe I would want at certain points, or maybe in the past, I wanted to be a completely different character. But if I lean into who I am, and I'm a passionate person, that's the real deal. Who are you? Who are you? Because if you embody who you already are, the official metrics of coolness don't exist then. If you can carry confidently the fact that you are interested in dinosaurs more than you're interested in football, you are going to be super cool to a lot of people. I don't really care about dinosaurs, to be honest, but if I see you being passionate about dinosaurs and you wearing that proudly, and you being able to embody that conviction, yeah, I don't care about the results of the last night's game. I care about reading this book about Triceratops or whatever. That's the only dinosaur name that I can think of. Like, that's the path to coolness. Okay, I got excited. I got excited because, once again, I really do think we could be at a pivotal moment in the history of masculinity, at least in recent decades. This shift that we can experience now, if we all acknowledge, okay, here is the proof. We have the proof that unlimited money and power are not enough for you to be perceived as cool when you are not cool, when you're not genuine, when you are obviously not fun to be around. So my invitation is, tell me in the comments what you think about this. Tell me in the comments if you disagree, why you disagree. Let's have a civil discussion and argument for sure. But I will say, for you men who have been in the trap of online masculinity, thinking that you just need to max out your money stat and your power stat, I'm hoping that this is a wake-up call. And for those of you who have been insecure, not sure if there is hope for you, and you didn't want to become part of the online masculinity movements that focus on just external growth in terms of money, if you were the guy who is maybe doing his own thing in the corner, thinking that because you're not rich you will never be noticed, my brother, you've been so wrong. You've been so wrong, and we have the proof that there is hope for all of you or all of us. There is hope that if we develop ourselves as competent, for sure, and successful men, but also kind men, respectful men, honorable men, men with integrity who don't lie about rejecting Epstein parties, but actually seeking to go to Epstein parties. If we develop ourselves in men who don't lie about being the best in the world at playing a particular video game, but then it becomes clear that we have paid someone to boost our rank. If we become men who are not so lame to fake our ranking in a video game, but actually play the video game or play the sport or play Dungeons and Dragons or draw or do speaking to the camera, if we develop into men who have the balls, forgive my language, and the courage and heart to live our journey authentically, there are people who will appreciate us, love us, want to be around us, and want to be with us. Thank you, friends. Thank you, brothers. If some ladies continued watching this, thank you, sisters. Stay strong. Always love life. Never feel sorry for yourself, because there is hope for everyone to enjoy this life. Light that a raging fire in your heart, and always go beyond. Thank you.